Welcome to Policy on Demand. I'm Scott McCandless. It is the week of November 20th, and this is your Monday briefing. Congress is in recess for the Thanksgiving holiday and will return the week of November 27th. Before lawmakers left town, however, they passed a continuing resolution to fund the government through early next year. Joining us to share his insights on this development is Rohit Kumar. Rohit, welcome.
Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for coming back. So what they passed was a laddered CR that gets some agencies funded into the beginning of the year and other agencies, including the IRS, a little bit later to February 2nd. Can you talk about the precedent that might have preceded this and what it means for funding going forward?
So it's not sort of completely unusual for some agencies to be funded for some period of time and others for less, but more typically what you see is like some agencies are funded for the entirety of the fiscal year and other agencies are funded into some, like just the beginning part of the year because they're fighting about like Homeland Security, immigration policy, or things like that. Having sort of everything on a laddered CR is a little bit unusual. There's only a 2-week lag between the first deadline and the second deadline. I am frankly pretty deeply skeptical that this is going to materially change any of the results, right? You've got, Republicans have the House, Democrats have the Senate, there's a Democrat in the White House. Whatever becomes law at the end of the day is going to have to be some sort of bipartisan compromise, which means Freedom Caucus Republicans and very progressive Democrats in the House probably aren't voting for it. Similarly aligned senators are also not voting for it. This is going to be something that's done in the middle. And so I think the laddered CR is just like, well, we're doing something a little bit different, and doing things the same way is sort of frowned upon by House Republicans. So it worked, but I'm not sure that at the end of the day, when we kind of close the history books on the fiscal year, that we're going to feel like, oh, this laddered CR, this really changed the outcome.
Sure, makes sense. So importantly for our viewers are the tax issues. What does this mean for the tax issues, and do they have a prospect either before the calendar year end or in the January or February timeframe?
Yeah, so first things first, tax writers have to get an agreement. And so far, the tax writers do not have an agreement. We've been sort of preaching all year, it's all fine and well to think about the vehicle, but if you don't have a thing, the vehicle is irrelevant. Now, the tax writers continue to sort of project optimism that a deal is in sight. They all kind of know the material terms of the transaction. The red lines are sort of well established and they can work inside them. But the vehicle is a little bit of an issue. Typically, these things happen on not CRs, but on sort of full year omnibus or continuing resolutions. We didn't have one, and whatever we had is gone already. And so it's going to have to look for a new home. And there's sort of a couple options. One is the FAA. Right, FAA needs to be, Excise Tax Authority needs to be re-upped before the end of the calendar year. That expires 12/31, was not picked up in the CR. Option 2 would be do it standalone. If you cut the deal, the TCJA provisions, 174, 162J, full expensing, the child tax credit, there's a Taiwan tax agreement that's basically very close, if not ready to go. You put it all together and do it as a freestanding exercise on the theory that if Chairman Jason Smith, House Republican, endorses it, Chairman Ron Wyden, Senate Democrat, endorses it, and the White House is behind it, this thing will have the votes in the House and the Senate. And then third is to try to find some other vehicle, and maybe a national security supplemental or something else that's happening, defense authorization. I'm a little more skeptical about that, but there are some other bills. They are not done legislating in 2023, so there will be some other options. But as I said, first things first, the tax writers have to get an agreement, and then they have to sell that agreement so that people are comfortable with the transaction, and then you can find a home for it.
Given this environment where you have both tax negotiations that need to continue as well as the ongoing search for a vehicle, what do you recommend companies do in this environment?
The absolute key is that the tax writers kind of get it. They are doing their work, and I think they will eventually get there. Probably the most important thing is for non-tax writers, so people not on finance, not on Ways and Means, to be hearing from company executives and CEOs, and really especially the leadership, right? Senator McConnell, Senator Schumer, Leader Jeffries, Speaker Johnson, because those are the four that are really going to set, like, here are the must-do things before the end of the calendar year. And unless they feel like this is must-do, even if the tax writers have an agreement, the leadership types, right, this is a place where I have some experience, they're not going to look for a home for it if they don't think it's an important thing to do. So the leadership types, really the top 4 leaders, one in each party in each chamber, they need to be hearing it more than anything else so that they prioritize any agreement that the tax writers can strike.
Rohit, thank you as always for your advice and insights. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
And for our viewers, you'll find a link to the latest Week in Review with Ken Kuykendall in the description of this episode. This week is Thanksgiving in the United States, so the next Week in Review will come to you on Friday, December 1st. Thank you for watching, and take care.